All right, hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Brogan, and today we're back for another training stream. Now we've got some news. It's not news, all right, because it was it been and gone in like 30 seconds, okay? Because it actually hasn't happened. We'll look at it in a second. It's the Powell resigning thing. He's not actually resigning. Obviously, we'll look at it in literally 2 minutes when we go on to CoinMarketCap and then so on and so forth. But hopefully you guys are doing really well. Hopefully you've had a nice day so far. If it's in the evening, if it's in the morning, hopefully you have a great rest of your day after the stream. All these sorts of things. So thank you all for joining us on this stream. Also on Binance Square today, obviously they have slowly releasing out their, streaming, like actually showing video, because obviously on Binance Square it's just voice, but today they have, or not just today, but they have started to roll out their video streaming. So I'm on Binance Square, so shout out to you guys on Binance Square as well. But regardless, I'm pretty happy so far with what the chart's doing. Let me actually alt tab, there we go. I'm pretty happy so far with what's been going on in terms of what we have from Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, and Syrup, and pretty much across the board what we've talked about on all of our streams. It's been pretty good so far, and I'm still pretty happy. Bitcoin's done what we said. Obviously, we talked about it retracing back upwards to about 119.6. Obviously, we're sitting at the back of that area again. Obviously, we are going to go over the charts because, we're going to go to the charts. Ethereum doing pretty well. Again, we were talking about the highs, so we did hit above those on like the higher time frames. That obviously we retraced a NILF. Obviously, we've not actually really come down too much on Ethereum, but again, we will go into it. And Solana at 202, really good on Solana right now. Again, like I've been talking about as well, we've kind of been cascading downwards, hitting every mark. Obviously, Bitcoin pumps, now Ethereum has pumped, now Solana's starting to get that little, move up as well. So as we talked about with the phases, I'm not saying that the phases are a day after the other, it could take a week to get to the altcoins, but, we are moving up with Solana, very nice. Again, we did talk about the continuing to move back upwards on Solana on our last stream when we talked about Solana, maybe stream before, I can't remember which one it was. But on the higher time frame, we've basically just been going up, and I think we continue to do that once we hit that 218 mark. Obviously, we'll look at it when we get onto it, but pretty good. Another one I'll look at which isn't here is Syrup. I can't spell. Oops. You know what? It's not it. It's not it today. There we go. There we go. So 44.9 again. Remember what we talked about? Obviously, we talked about it last Wednesday, basically a week ago. Obviously, we've been looking at it as we've been coming down. But I think we're nearing that point where we, might have a chance to continue back upwards, especially with the idea of the phases. Obviously, things may be starting to, flourish in the market outside of the top 3 coins and whatnot. So, anyways, I'm pretty happy with Syrup. So that's what we're going to cover today, the top 4. And if you're on Binance Square, you can see at the bottom of your screen at the coin. Most of you guys probably might know this if you've been on Binance Square. This is our first stream. This is the first time I have Binance Square open on my right-hand side of the monitor. It's the first time I've ever seen it, really. So, I'm not an absolute pro at it, but I do know you can go look at what we're covering today. You can go and directly access those coins as well, so I would recommend having a look over there as well. But that's pretty much it. I just wanted to quickly look over the Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. Winners, yeah, there's some here, some there. I don't really care. I'm just looking at Bitcoin, so we're going to move on. But obviously, before we do go on to Bitcoin, I do want to talk about Powell. It literally happened within the last hour, maybe about 13 minutes. Oh, the timer. How could I forget? All right, let me decrease it. Let me do like 55 minutes. No, not 5 minutes. 55. There we go. Thank you for reminding me. I've started the timer. Don't worry. It started. I'm not gonna forget. I did forget, but I'm gonna try not to forget. Anyway, don't matter. Let's just move on. So boom, on Twitter. It was within, obviously this guy, I just picked a random one, literally just searched up Jerome Powell resign, or Powell resign, and this is one of them. Again, I'm not saying something which hasn't already been talked about in the last, 5 minutes, but it was about 40 minutes ago. There was this, letter from Powell, which basically discussed him, at the close of today, resigning from his position. But I think, we did obviously send this in the Telegram, but, just to talk about it, but really quickly have not, obviously said differently, because if we open up in a new browser, just so we can actually zoom in, we don't have to read any words. I don't have to look at this and read any words and go, okay, I know this is fake, If we just kind of, enhance, in those movies, when they say enhance and they just like zoom in, they've got a satellite however many, miles, kilometers away from the Earth, and they zoom in on a guy's house, and you can see him, he's outside like having a bottle of water or whatever, and you can just see him, like, you know what I mean? Anyways, enhance, regardless. We can see, it's just AI. It's just AI. But like, what is this? Odeo of Eb Federal Reserve? Like, come on. So it has been quickly debunked, if you will. Obviously, everyone and their grandma said on Twitter, oh, it's not real, it's not real. Like, if we go back and we go up, power design, literally is the only thing I searched. You know, people across the board pretty much talking about, actually 45 minutes, it might have been about an hour ago actually, it got announced. But yeah, it's just fake. It's not real. But they tried. It was, you know what, we saw it, and you know, it was like, oh, this is great for Bitcoin. I can't believe it. And literally 5 minutes after, yeah, it's not even real. It's not real. So that is just what I wanted to talk about quickly before we went to the chart. So I'm going to move on to Bitcoin now as the first chart. Now, this is on the 1 hour. I do want to kind of shift between the 3 minute. I want to kind of slightly discuss what we've already talked about and then continue onwards between there. So it was about here, actually, where was it exactly? It was around about here when we were talking about Bitcoin last. And what I was kind of saying was I was talking about basically us coming up into this area, this kind of blue area, this kind of whole gap, which obviously we'd already retraced. I also marked out this high. I can probably extend it over now. Marked out the high, marked out this area. I was like, okay, I reckon we can come into this 119.641. Now, I don't know if I said specifically, oh yeah, I would wait to short in this area and then come down. But basically, the idea was coming back into this area. But we did have a move down before we moved up, but we did eventually do that. So obviously, coming from here, we obviously talked about the support, which we continued onwards with on the 15 minutes. If you go on the 15 minute and zoom out, we can see, you know, we had this support area. Oh no, I must have just, I don't remember drawing this right now. Oh no, I think I did. I must have. Whatever, I have this drawn anyway. Just following the chart. Obviously, we literally ended the stream like. Actually, that's 10. It was actually probably about here even. We looked at it. So we looked at it about here. Obviously, we had a move up one night. We were doing nothing. But, you know, oh yeah, I remember saying actually when it was going on, I was like, oh, it'd be really funny if as I was talking about Bitcoin going down, oh no, that might have been a different coin. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is, we were talking about it around about here. And the general idea was looking at, if we go back to the 1 hour, coming up into this area. Obviously, we didn't really come up into it. We you know, had a little bit of a normal, again, expansion retracement, normal movement back down. Obviously, we marked this one out. We had this midpoint, and then we kind of came up above it again, and then retraced. So it was from there for me. I was like, okay, cool. I reckon we're going to eventually hit this 119 area. So what we did from there, obviously not going into too much specifics because, you know, that's not what we're doing here. We want to look at what's going on right now. Is we continued back upwards. You know, took out this high again. We hit this, this midpoint area. We continue to fill this area. We continue to come up into this these candles, and then obviously we eventually moved down. It was kind of just waiting for this move down. So we filled this and then moved down, which is quite normal. What I would expect anyway. You know, I wouldn't expect us to go right through this and pump right up to 119.641. So pretty normal movement. Again, we came back into this, and continued even further. Hit this kind of actual point where we're starting to look for us moving down. I'm not saying, oh yeah, we hit off 118.821, and that was why we came down. Obviously, there's reasons for us coming down, but it's kind of a rule of thumb to look at. Okay, when you're starting to get up into these higher points, coming from a massive move down and waiting for that retracement, you want to be looking at a certain threshold to actually move up for that to be more of a valid move down, in opinion anyway. Obviously, we hit that, and obviously we've come down now. We took patterns low, normal, again, especially in a downtrend. But then we took this low, and then we pumped up. So again, we took this low. We kind of just, I mean, there wasn't. I don't really think there's anything behind us. There was just these kind of this trend. Again, it was kind of one of these like, bunch of highs and lows. We were kind of moving up already, and then we printed past it, and then we had a massive pump in Bitcoin. I mean, if you really look at it, there wasn't really too much. There was resistance here, but not too much resistance. It was kind of just a really quick move down, especially coming from this main area, which took everything out here. Probably took quite a lot of people out there along with it, and then we had a massive pump, which then finally took us after we fulfilled all this area. Because again, remember, we can aim at. The general idea is you want to aim for above equilibrium, but you don't necessarily want to aim for there. You want to, if we start to hit into this area, you really want to aim for there. And then obviously we hit that 119.641 we were talking about last stream, whenever it was exactly. We talked about Bitcoin, probably last stream. And then obviously from there we produced a new high, came all the way down, produced a new low, and now we've kind of done this really wide move so far. So now we're starting to get into TA we can talk about now. Obviously taking out these lows. I'm trying to look at this. Okay, cool. So I can probably start shimming this down again as we follow these lows into this wider range we have going on. Again, we hit off this high, came down, we took this high. So I'm just gonna delete this for now just to get it out of the way. And we've we have this current high, or not current high, but we had this high we've now just taken with this current move. We've had basically within the morning of yesterday, and we've continued upwards. And again, I think the main thing is we can kind of clearly see ever since this whole move, we're kind of just waiting to see what we do. Again, in this case, it's been pretty choppy, to be fair. In terms of, obviously, we took these highs, we came up, and then we printed below, lows and, candles we came below, and then we've printed up above them, and then we printed below them, and then we printed above them again. So it's been very kind of messy in terms of trying to find a trend. So especially, it's probably even I go to the, maybe not daily actually, but there's probably been quite a kind of equalness, especially even here, coming up, dumping, and then coming back upwards again. This is kind of a bit of a consolidation in a way, kind of a slight, obviously, consolidation, move up a bit, coming obviously back into this area, having a big dump, and then, finding some sort of support, or finding some area of buy, and then continuing back upwards again. But regardless, I'm just actually going to talk about what we're doing right now. So again, like I said, I have this drawn actually, maybe probably from the 15-minute. Yeah, so again, we had this high, apart from this dump, which I believe was on the 1 hour. Yeah, we had this whole gap. Obviously, we wicked into here, kind of just looking at on the 15-minute here, just really see what's going on. Semi gaps, which we kind of used, not really too much support down here. On the 1 hour, it marks up on the 1 hour, but looking on the 15-minute, we are following suit, I suppose, but kind of just doing a normal uptrend here, obviously taking out these highs. So in an uptrend, we want to be focusing on taking highs and finding support below us. So I do think, regardless of even if there's a retracement kind of thing where we come up into a premium and then dump and take lows, I do still think, considering this move up, we've had a pretty nice move so far. So are we going to be able to continue back up to 120? We'll obviously see. We do still have some outstanding potentially in the area above us. Obviously, going back to the 1 hour, we can see it in a bit wider scale. There we go. As I was talking about here, there we go. So we can see we've continued to fill it a bit more. So again, I think from here, we probably might have a bit more of a retracement, and then potential for move up. And again, regardless of what my general opinion is, and I do want to go on to the daily quickly in a second on Bitcoin, because I want to see what the general trend is, just to make it a bit easier for me to tell what the bias would probably be. Again, not saying the 1 hour isn't a higher time frame, but isn't particularly. If you look on the 15-minute, of course, 1 hour is going to be a higher time frame. But I do want to look at the daily here. We can obviously kind of see we have realistically been doing, especially these lower highs here. Had this massive low, to be fair, obviously coming down from here. And what I've been talking about down here. On wherever, I think I've got it hidden for now actually, just to have it. Yeah, we've obviously been talking about this for quite a while now in terms of coming back down into some of these areas as we've been continuing here. There we go. So I'm not necessarily saying this move we're doing right now is going to constitute us. Oh yeah, there we go. We've done the uptrend now. We're coming right back up above 120. We're going to take out these highs and then move higher into 125. Again, this is why I want to look at it. So what I'll actually do before I move on to anything else, I'm going to go to the daily, as I've been saying. Actually, maybe in the 4 hour, to be fair, just to kind of have less candles, actually give it a bit easier for us to look at. So what I'm seeing, again, we can kind of clearly see, we haven't printed yet, but kind of main area, actually, what I'm going to do, I have so many groups of TA, which I unhide and hide, and you know what, it's getting a bit of a mess. I need to delete all this. I'm just going to hide this quickly so we can kind of see, we'll delete this, there we go. So we can actually see what's going on. It's very messy. It's very hard. So this is kind of where we obviously the main high we had, which we obviously talked about. Within this whole move we've had with this 127, 125 thing. We obviously talked about this before. But if we kind of see the general move has realistically been like this so far. Now I think again, regardless if we take this high, this is technically not the most significant high because again, There's trends, there's highs and there's lows, but you can kind of clearly see, and it's not really too much for interpretation, but it's realistically, it's easier to kind of just see it, not subconsciously per se, but see, okay, this is clearly a high, this is clearly high, this is clearly high. So in terms of what we have, after this, we definitely have highs up here, and you can see there's quite a few nearly equal highs here within this 121k area, which obviously we came to earlier before, obviously with this previous area on, I believe it was the 1 hour. Was it this area? I think it was this area I marked out. Obviously, we can probably unhide it. It was this area we looked at as well. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Going back to the 4 hour. So we can see, obviously, we've kind of been in a downtrend so far, and we haven't necessarily done. We haven't printed yet. This is technically a high. I definitely would be interested to look at 121, but I think personally, let's go back to the 1 hour quickly. That's not what I want to do. There we go. I think personally, you know, there could still be resistance here, but normally it's like, okay, once you use it, you don't really want to continue to, oh yeah, there's constantly going to be resistance here. Obviously, never say never, whatever. But I think we've definitely exceeded this kind of range, unless we have a high, you know, unless we have a high, you know, which gets taken and obviously has like a wick above it or whatever, and we start to retrace, and there's not really a lot of support below us, and we start to take out lows and then continue back downwards, we could potentially push a bit higher. Now, again, I'm not saying there's no resistance here, but I think a lot of these times we came into this area, especially this one, it was pretty clear cut. We came to midpoint, came to the actual proper resistance area, and then we moved all the way down, had a nice trend downwards. So kind of similar with this area. I'm not saying it can't happen, you know, because it has happened. It can happen before in terms of we come into the area, and then once you hit it, you then have that move down. This one wasn't very big, to be fair. This wasn't really a great move in terms of having a massive dump or anything like that. We did find support pretty quickly, but it obviously definitely using this case as an example where, you know, it's not like you just come into the area of where you should, in theory, find a sell and then just immediately just hold the area and stay there for like 2 days. So for me, it's like, okay, even though we are coming up into this area, we haven't had a response yet. We haven't really done much. So in terms of what I can think, especially seeing as though we are definitely coming past this area, which is fine because, again, we've already used it here. Even though we are already coming past, I do definitely think we could exceed higher. And the only thing for me then is we could use the high and then obviously take, you know, this move whole area, basically sitting at 121, which we've already seen before, and then move down again. And, you know, similar to how we've looked at over here in terms of using it, you know, retracement, using it and a retracement again, in terms of there being a consistent sell area multiple times and not just being once, especially seeing as though it's the 1 hour. And I said this last stream as well, in terms of on the 50-minute when you have gaps or an area where you think it should be sold, I've noticed a consistency where it's like, okay, once you kind of come into this area and you should in theory find buy, let's say, you don't really use it again. It's not really a consistent area, but to come onto the 1 hour or the higher time frames, you normally find this area a bit more consistently. So I'm not saying it can't happen. And again, if we now use that kind of idea, we could still definitely see some more about 121.5, especially if we came above these highs as well. And obviously from this period, we still have this whole area if we use it. In terms of we still can sit, you know, happily within 121.5 and then find resistance again and continue back downwards. So for me, what it looks like is if we don't have a response here and we continue back upwards, I definitely think we could probably target for that area again and then see where it goes from there and sell. I mean, from there, it's like we don't really have much until we see around 123.5k. But again, it's like, what's the focus on right now? Again, the idea of that there being phases and they're going from Bitcoin to Ethereum, then to lower cap coins, and then eventually hitting the alts. In theory, it then would be, well, there wouldn't really be that much of a spike in Bitcoin, let's say, which actually would allow us to come up towards 127. Because again, this isn't actually the main. Actually, it is, but it's not like the main area in terms of talking about standard deviations anywhere. There is still room for growth, but in terms of having that spike to do that, I really don't think we would have that. So I think worst case in terms of the high, if you are looking at on a negative side of things, I think definitely would be focusing on about 121 above these highs. But from there, it's like either we use this area. And again, this is the thing. It's like we've only really just, especially on the 1 hour, we've only really just come above this high and come back up into this area again. We've only just used it. So there's more than happily, I can more than happily see there being potential for us to start moving down again now. But I think from there, it's like we don't really have much support. We could potentially see support in this area. We've already used this area. Actually, we'll delete it now. So I definitely think we could see moving downwards. And again, you already know how I feel about 114k. So I think regardless of where we are, I think what I would do personally on Bitcoin is wait to see what we do and then wait for 114k. In terms of obviously, are we moving down yet? Are we moving down now? We're moving down, you know, in tomorrow. When are we moving down? Well, I think again, I would wait to see how we respond, because again, you can't just. There's not a permanent thing you can use on a chart where you can just look at it and go, okay, cool, I'm going to short this area, and it will happen. It's very, very selective, very, very rare for that to happen. So for me personally, I'm going to want to wait to see what happens if we start to retrace from here and take out lows again and continue back downwards. We're so close, especially 116. We're so close to 114.7. Like it's basically there. And again, this was definitely one of the main areas we've been looking at, not on most time frames for this massive move up. And I think if we go back to the daily now and really just look at it, it's like, okay, yes, we have had this move up within this daily spike, but it's majority been this massive move down so far. And if I were to hide, there we go. I'm just going to draw it again, to be fair. It's kind of just this whole area, let's say. It's pretty much this whole area. We've had this massive move up, since this pump we had, starting with kind of within the month, obviously moving back a bit to whatever it was, exactly wherever you deem it. We had this massive move up, and realistically, it's like you want to have this move up, the retracement, and then continue to move up again. So, we've broken this. I'm not saying we reverse from this area. We definitely have massive support regardless of where we come to. So it's kind of a thing where I want to see, if this is the high and we don't continue this and we continue this downtrend, roughly what we can see on the daily anywhere, I do want us to come a bit more into 114k, and then we can probably start to move up again, because there's still so much below us we could hold at. So that's kind of my opinion anyway. That's pretty high time frame stuff. But again, kind of wrapping it up a bit more so we can move on a bit. I am trying to aim for looking at syrup at the end of the stream as well. I'm happy so far with what we've done, especially with what we talked about last stream and the stream before, obviously with this move, obviously looking at this move we've had, and I'm obviously intrigued to see how we respond off this. I'm not saying we are permanently going to do this, because I wouldn't really constitute this as a strong support point, because we've already used this area multiple times. So the only thing I'll be focusing on then is if we've taken this high and use it as resistance. But then it's like, okay, cool, if we continue downwards and hold this support, it's like we might as well just be in an uptrend, which we already are. So at that point, it's like, are we realistically going to see a massive dump from taking this high at 119.7? So I think from there, for me, it would definitely just be a situation where we have already printed above this high. If we retrace a bit, find this low and continue on upwards, then it's like, okay, what's the next target for me? I don't really think this is a great area to find resistance at. For then, for me, it's like, okay, I think it's just about 121k. So I'm not like... It's not I'm completely convinced that is going to happen. I just don't really see. I'm just trying to be like logical about it. I just don't personally see there being, from what we have already right now, there being a massive dump from here. And again, not financial advice at all, but from so far, from what we've been right with, this area is it's a bit like it's a dried cow, So I think from there, it's like, what do we have? This is definitely going to be a massive area. This whole move, this whole thing from about 121k, especially sitting from this previous gap, which we still have a bit more, about 121.5. I think we could maybe edge up a bit closer to there if we continue this uptrend and see there, and obviously see where we go from there. But again, I think from there, I think it's just, whatever we do in these intermoves on the 1 hour, I think I'm realistically just waiting to see how we move on the higher time frames, and if we could retrace down to 114k, because I mean, we're still in this uptrend, and again, we have had a massive pump upwards, and it makes sense to have a deeper retracement. But I think we still haven't really done that, especially if you look at the daily. We haven't had a massive consistent time of movement downwards. We've had a bit of a retracement. Again, the normal trend is you find expansion, you find retracement, and this looks like a really normal retracement. So what we're doing isn't out of the ordinary or anything like that. I just think we could continue this downwards until we actually properly hit a decent area of support, which I think is a tiny bit lower than where we've seen. We did have this 115, 116 area, but I think we can come a lot deeper, as we've seen on the 1 hour with the 114.7 midpoint, about 114k. I think we can come down a bit lower before we try to move back upwards again and see if we can get back above 123k. So that's kind of my opinion. So we will obviously see, and I will move on to Ethereum now. Actually, I need to check the chat. I have not done that yet. Let's see. 130k. Well, again, obviously we'll see. You know what I'm saying? I think I do want to see a retracement before, because if we look again, I've already shown on daily. We've had the massive move, and then we've kind of just done this, and it's like it's not really done much on the daily. We've had a lot of candles which have been small bodies where we've had within the 1 hour moves or whatever time frame you're looking at. Yes, great, we've had movement upward, movement downward, great, but on the daily, when it actually kind of compiles into a singular candle, realistically haven't done much. We've had a lot of movements, and we've seen this when we've been looking at CoinMarketCap. It's like we'll have a lot of times on the 24 hour, something like that, where especially even on the 7-day when we have this retracement, it's like, yes, we have had a move up, but these percentage values are basically sitting at zero again. So in terms of the actual potential and the actual outcome of the move, and the net of what we've actually done is pretty much nothing. We've had a move down, move up, and we're sitting right where we are. So yeah, I'm not convinced on this move up unless we are putting a higher high. 4-hour close back inside the liquidity, set it lower. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, from what I have, again, we have that high. We do have the rest of the gap to consider. And that's the thing. It's like, I've already looked at it on multiple streams where there has been times we've just filled the rest of the thing and then moved down. So that's why I'm kind of, I still am hesitant on whether there would be the up move, but I still don't think, and this is where the concerning part is for me. It's like, if we actually look at the move up, and I've already talked about it, you know what? Let me go back. I've got more to say. In terms of, as I looked at with this, it's like there's nothing here. There's nothing here. This isn't really support. There's nothing here. So realistically in this, there's not that much. You know what I'm saying? So normally in these moves, it's like, okay, if you're on continuing this downtrend, it's like, okay, there's this here, there's this whole move down here with this gap, which we had here, this whole gap. Obviously, then it depends on where we come from. And in this case, we took out a higher time frame, well, not higher time frame per se, but like a longer low anyway. So it kind of made sense to have a bit more of a move up on this continuation. But and again, from here, it was more reversal. So it's not really the greatest point. But in normal moves, it's like until it's the slowdown of a move. It's like if you're seeing equal moves down versus move up, it's like the normal strong move is when you have these massive, this is a good example of this anyway, is when you have these massive expansionary candles downwards and then these retracements, as I've seen anyway, as I've, you know, personally seen anyway, or personal opinion anyway, is same thing here. It's like, this is pretty good as well, actually, this move, until we hit this high. It's like expansion, really small, expansion, really small, expansion, and then this is obviously expansion from this low anyway, and this one was pretty deep, and then it starts to slow down. It's like when you have these big retracements which have expansions, or when these candles, when you can see as we go up, the movements downwards and the retracements per se in terms of this move up are starting to slow down, and these are really big, and these movements aren't very equally big, and then we have a small retracement, and then we just really slow down here. And it's like, I'm not saying obviously this is why we came down, but in terms of what a good move versus a bad move of a move up and move down is, these are good moves down when you have these massive moves, and then it's like, okay, you come up a bit and you start to come down. Obviously in this case, it's then the balance between what you form below you, what you form above you. This case, obviously, you form this high and then continue downwards. Again, massive area up here. Same thing here, obviously, new low, came up, massive area from this way down, came down again. But then from there, it's like once we start to use this, it's like, and which is valid, it's like, you know, we've had a massive move up. But this is why it's the balance between, we've already multiple times over came into this area and found sell, found resistance, whatever you want to say. But this move, it really doesn't convince me as a great move, and I do agree in terms of I'm not convinced, and this is why I haven't really given a full great, because again, back here when we talked about it on Saturday, I gave obviously in this case we did have come down, but my kind of my talk was, obviously we had the inter move, which was taking this high before we moved down, and then my main talk, or not my main talk, my main point was I want to see if we can come to 194 and then see if we because this whole thing's a retracement. So from there it was, I want to see if we can come to this area before we move back downwards, and obviously we did that, and it was a lot easier to talk about. I'm not saying this is hard to talk about, but in terms of, you know, we've already used this area multiple times. It might not necessarily be a strong resistance point. This could, again, I think if you've already taken a high, I do definitely think we need a retracement. So regardless of what we're doing right now, we do need that retracement. But I'm not convinced this is a strong area. This isn't really support. This isn't. There's nothing down here. We've already used it. This isn't support. There's not really much on the way down in terms of support, especially coming from this massive move down. This really did not help us. So I think from there, it's like, you know, I'm not personally convinced on that. So, you know, again, and we have also come up into this area. So that's why I'm not really too like confident on that move, on this move up either. But again, I think I want to wait a bit more. I'm going to go to Ethereum now though, because again, I'm yapping and I've got 5 minutes. Oh no, 29 and 3/4. So let's go over what we talked about. So I left off last time with Ethereum, which was obviously, you know how I am with Ethereum. If you've been on these streams, you know I've been with Ethereum. Obviously, and this is the thing. It's like in a lot of these coins, it's like same with Bitcoin. It's like it's one of these moves up, which is like it's not a consistent thing where it's been like, oh yeah, this is just a move up based on price action. I'm not saying this hasn't been based on price action, but this has definitely been a massive buy for Ethereum. Obviously, we have talked obviously on Monday about, or yesterday even, about that's actually reminded me. obviously tomorrow is the quiz. I want to go over, actually, maybe near the end of the stream. I'll try and do so quickly. I want to show the global leaderboard so we can show you guys what we're going to look at tomorrow when we get the new data, obviously, because I did finally upload everything I did to the server. Anyway, yeah, this is obviously a massive move. Obviously, I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to come down at 3,500. Obviously, we didn't. And then obviously continued up. So in this case, it's very similar to what we have with Bitcoin in terms of we formed this, came up to the midpoint, and then continued downwards in our and again, normal downtrend. This is what I was talking about with Bitcoin as well. It's like massive expansion. Obviously, in this case, we did have a decent move up for this retracement, but retracement obviously came up, and this is kind of the idea where it's like, in terms of this downtrend, like this is like normal downtrend scenario where it's like, okay, expansion move, expansion. Obviously, we didn't actually hit it here, to be fair, but continue like expansion move, where it's like these retracements shouldn't really be that big. But in this case, it's like you leave these massive candles, you retrace back up into them, and it's basically just a normal downtrend. Obviously, low, normal move down. So same thing with Bitcoin, where it's like, okay, we did use this, but we actually have come back up into it. But I think the main thing, I'm not actually talking about this area as being the resistance, but I think for me, it was definitely looking at this high. Because I think what I left off with last stream was, for me, it's like, I think we can probably take this high and then see maybe a bit of a move down from there. But at the rate we have with Ethereum, regardless if we come down from here, this whole area, like this, like I think it's very, very hard for us to come down anywhere near 2,800 right now. I do not think we can get through any of this without us finding a bit of buy and continuing back upwards and doing another high. It's like, if we could really consider, if we really look at this on a daily, the last low we had, I would say the significant low, again, obviously there's these little wick lows and whatnot, the significant low on the daily was about 2,400. So ever since then, we've been going up, and now we've only really started to maybe potentially do a high. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't think we're going to get back down anywhere near, sub 3,000 easily. I definitely think we'll come maybe 3,500 in this area. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we actually draw the true area of this, roughly sitting about here, it's definitely within 3,400 at least, if we were to have a retracement from where we are right now, which obviously could be the case. If you really see, this is really a really nice reversal, what could be potentially happening right now. Obviously, not financial advice or anything, but same thing, again, good reversal. Same thing with the head and shoulders. Again, same thing with this. We've come to a nice, point of interest, if you will, obviously the previous high. And then we've kind of continued downwards, slightly done equal low, and then we've produced quite big, and this isn't really a normal retracement, this is quite a big expansion. Again, on the arguments between expansion versus retracement, same thing here, where we've formed this gap here, we've come to this midpoint, and then we've kind of formed the head and shoulders, but the head and shoulders make sense in the way that you have these candles which come back up into them and then continue downwards. And again, from there, what we start to do, expansion downwards, retracement. So again, we've had these expansions. In this case, it's the same thing. It was like, this one's really good. It's like expansion, really small retracement, actually. This is really tiny. Expansion, retracement, expansion, small retracement, expansion. And then we have this massive dump. And then it's starting to be like, okay, cool. We've just come above this high. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, we're starting to see potentially where we've actually started to have a decent expansion downwards. And then we've come back up into it with this area. You can see we've come back up into it, we've come down, and then we've obviously slowed down. And now we've seen, again, same thing here. We have all this outstanding area. We've come down into it. Again, this whole area down here, support. So I'm not saying from here we would have dumped and came down, but it's the same setup where we have this whole thing where we've just about taken all these areas, and then we've had the response from this is a massive expansion downwards. So we've started to clearly have, on this, relative to the daily, to the 1 hour, on the a lower time frame, we've started to have this reversal. Obviously came to this area, and then had this kind of equal candle, moving downwards, drawing the entire candle. We can see we've formed a bit of a resistance area, obviously working on this midpoint here as well. Obviously, we've, as we continue downwards with expansions, formed these areas as we're continuing downwards. This is probably a bit of a support here as well. If we look at it with this whole thing, we can kind of see a potential for there to be a bit of support there. But I generally think from what we have right now, we could see that continuous moving downwards. But again, it's the same thing I was just saying. It's like we have these recovery areas as we continue on upwards, or continue downwards anyway, as we've had these move upwards. Same thing what I said on the daily. I don't personally think we can probably get anywhere near sub 3,000, sub 3,200, anywhere like that. I don't think we can get near there with what we have on Ethereum, because this is the same thing on the 1 hour. You know, it's this same relative idea where we've had these massive moves and formed these massive candles, which just have had these breakaway, just moved up, nowhere near them. And as we continue downwards, we have this midpoint. Obviously, in this case, we continue onwards. We hit this midpoint, now we're kind of retracing a bit. So I think on this way down, what I would personally do is definitely look at these retracements on the way downwards, and then see these areas where there should be reversal, and then continue downwards, obviously taking these lows, because it's kind of clearly we have had this breakdown from all these lows, and we're starting to produce a bit of a downtrend here, potentially anyway. Obviously, it's been a very big move, especially, I mean, in this case, it's like, what's the difference between actual downtrend versus these areas? And again, I think these have more of a big expansion move downwards versus that retracement, whereas with here, it's like, you know, we have had these move downwards, had massive move up. Obviously, in this case, we had support. So it's a bit of a different story where it's like, regardless of if we're in a downtrend in this inter move, I don't care what we're actually really doing with the price. Because obviously we have this area here, and we're going to have this area here where we've come down towards it. We filled actually the rest of this. I talked about this last stream or before the stream before that, where we have these areas and we continue up. But so regardless, I think what positions us to break out of these trends is when we don't really have that resistance. We don't really have that reason to stop, because whichever price is moving, there has to be a reason for that price to move. It's not just some magical candle, magical box which is moving up and down. There has to be reason in the market for this move to actually occur. So obviously in this case, it's like the reason, obviously we've come into these areas where there could be outstanding kind of orders, for example, standing by, where people are say, okay, this is a good area to buy at. Boom, there you go. Obviously in this case, coming downwards, kind of an equal area where we've seen an area come into, especially in this case, we had this gap, an area come into this resistant area and formed a massive, you know, equal area where there's clearly going to be resistance, or in this case there should be resistance anyway, and had this retracement, and we've come above equilibrium. So we want to aim for coming above equilibrium to then want to look for a short. So it's like, it's not a rule of thumb, it's not something you have to stick by, you know, it's just a personal thing I'm using anyway. It's kind of an idea where it's like, if you've had a massive move down and you only retrace a tiny bit, unless you're in a period on the higher time frame, let's say, or anything like that, where you're actually ramping upwards, and there's reason for this move, in a normal downtrend, in normal market circumstances, you don't really just want to, you've had the move down, you start to move back upwards, oh, I'm going to short now. No. You have to find that reason. You have to find that reason for the short. And in this case, the bare bone logic of it is finding these areas where there could still be outstanding orders, and then finding them, and then continue back downwards to take out lows and continue downwards in the market. Because people always want to catch that swing, or people always want to catch that reversal. But sometimes, you know, until people stop doing that, it's kind of like a pendulum where everyone's on one side, and then the market moves to the other side. It's like, I'm sure there's tons of people on the surface level of trading where they just constantly want to find that reversal. And people are always banking on they've found the reversal. And it's one of those things where like the market will continue to chase these lows and continue to move down in a downtrend as people think they've found that reversal point, and they're holding it all the way up till the highs again, because people can be very stuck in one mindset. So again, that's a different story. This period anyway, obviously massive resistance. We've come to the midpoint, especially with the candles. You know what? I haven't been reading Binance Square. I've just realized I need to actually alt tab to it. What coin? This is Ethereum. This is Ethereum. You can see bottom left where the timer is. You can see Ethereum. I want to move on actually from Ethereum. I know I'm speaking a lot on market, but I've got maybe what have I got left? About 20 minutes. I do want to talk about Solana. I'm going to be quicker. I always do this. I do want to look at the leaderboard quickly for people. But again, same thing. We've just about come up into above equilibrium. We've actually found, not reversal point, but we found the retracement, and now we should, in theory, continue downwards for the lows. And again, we have all these areas. So we're just fulfilling. And this is the idea. The idea is, same thing with why I think Bitcoin that could come to 114K, is the idea that we have this massive move. The idea is in an uptrend, and this isn't crazy to say. Bullish or bearish? It depends on, obviously, are you shorting for the next 1 month? Are you shorting for the next, few days, whatever? I think I'm not very bullish. I was what I will say. But anyway, this isn't crazy to say. I don't think. Obviously, shoot me if I'm wrong. I don't know if I can say that. I don't know if I'm allowed. But is this not what you look at when you find, oh, what is a bull trend? Is this not what you look at? So, okay, if we are doing that, we have the move up. then what results from that move up if you are in a bull trend? In this case, obviously, we're trying to aim for that. Again, we've already had the reversal down here. We've already had this reversal coming from this position. So we are in an uptrend. Well, what happens? You have the move up and then you have that move down. It's a higher low, yes. So you do continue upwards. You don't want to aim for, 2100. But again, we can look at it here. Reversal, expansion move upwards. What happens? We hovered, we did our thing, whatever. We barreled it down to, obviously in this case, the midpoint, obviously kind of what you want to aim for. In this case, if we just looked at this relative move and then came up, what do we have? Well, we've come into retracement area. Same exact thing we just looked at on the 1 hour. It's the same idea. It's like, okay, you've had this massive expansion. And obviously the market, to be fair, we did hover, but obviously on the high time frame, we've come up and we've found equilibrium. And now we start to move down, whatever you want to look at. But in this case, it's the I want to aim for, in theory anyway, as we follow these highs. Once we see that reversal, especially if we print past here, if we see that move past 2400, and which obviously we did in this case, is obviously we're talking about it in hindsight, but we've seen this move. I'm aiming for this area at least, and then we can see a move upwards. Because if we really look at it on the high time frame, what have we really done? If we obfuscate it, what have we really done? We've done this. That's all what we've done. We've obviously taken our time to do it. We've done all this sort of stuff. That's all we've done. So it's the same concept every single time. It's the same concept where we've had the move up. It's then the two questions are, when are we going to see that high? And then where are we going to come to when we see the retracement? It's the same question. I'm going to delete this actually. I don't really want it anymore. Delete this as well. So it's the same thing. We've had that move up. Where are we going to see that retracement from? So obviously, again, for me, it's going to be aiming from within this low, one of these lows down here, probably aiming actually, I've drawn that the wrong way, actually. I was supposed to do it from here. We probably aim for this low, which started this move up. I want to see where this goes to. It does actually... it does start at 2600. But to be fair, it's not a thing where it's like, oh, yeah, we're definitely going to see lower than this. I mean, I should probably put it for this low, because normally you want to do it on the last low. In this case, for a move up, you put it on the last low before the move. Which technically, if you can see, if we had a low, we move up, we had this low, and then obviously we moved up. So technically, I should probably put it a bit higher. But that's pretty funny. Oh, we're never going to go sub 3000, and there you go. I mean, this isn't even going to help, really. This is still sub 3000. But okay, the point I'm trying to make is, again, this has been a extrapolated high. This has been an extrapolated point. This is massive move up. The point is, we want to aim for these areas, especially if we start to move to print a down candle in this case anyway. Is okay, we want to retrace. We want to see that 3000. In this case anyway, obviously we want to aim for this area. But actually, now that I've drawn this, I will resync my statement of, oh, we might not see sub 3000, because we do have some areas down here which could see sub 3000. But this is daily. This is long-term stuff. This is in the future. But this is just kind of what my... I'm not targeting, because again, I could be trading the daily. I could wait for that high. I could short from here. I mean, obviously, it depends on where the reversal point is. Again, we could be doing that on the 1 hour now. You know what I'm saying? But it's kind of the question of where's the high, where we're going to come to. So in theory, it should be okay, coming at least quite a deeper retracement to fulfill a lot of what we have, and then push up again. But again, I could be wrong. There's times this never happens or whatnot, but whatever. So yeah, that's just it's not a thing where I'm using that idea as a, okay, I'm gonna wait and short at this price and come down to 22,800, which obviously more than happy to do. But it's more of a, okay, so in theory we've had this high potentially. Obviously this could be a reversal. If this is the reversal, I want to wait for that continuation downwards all the way up until we see our support point. Let's say this support point 3,300 that we talked about. This support, obviously we haven't used this. This is the kind of the only area we really haven't used. So again, we want to maybe aim for about this 3,250 area. Obviously we could go deeper or whatever. But again, as we're doing it here, we've had this move down, move up, and now we're, I'm not saying we've had the dump yet, but we're moving downwards. So the idea is we should be in a downtrend. So I think at least maybe could continue to target lows again, but I could be sufficiently wrong. I could be so wrong on this, because obviously as the market is targeting each and every, not targeting, but as we're continuing down, obviously we had the Bitcoin pump, and then we had the Ethereum pump, and now we're moving up in Solana, which obviously we're going to segue onto now. But again, that's we have these really big high time frame pumps from each and every coin as we're proceeding downwards. Not saying we're definitely down. If you go to CoinMarketCap, you've targeted Bitcoin, now we're targeting Ethereum, now we're targeting Solana. But the general idea is what we've seen so far. We've had the Ethereum, we had the Bitcoin pump. Obviously, we started retracing. Now we've had the Ethereum pump. Now we're starting to tiny bit of retracement. We're starting to have this Solana pump, and obviously what we talked about yesterday with the idea of the phases. We should have that cascading kind of money flow which continues downwards into these lower cap coins. Anyway, let's move to Solana. My opinion is bearish. Obviously, to reiterate on Bitcoin. I think I'll obviously talk about over here. I do want to go to the higher time frame because we do have this area which I do want to talk about, which we have talked about with the 220, 219, 218 area. So what were you talking about? I think we're on the 15 minute. The last time, I'm not going to go too long because I know I've got about maybe 13 and a bit, 14 minutes. So I will be really quick because I do want to go into syrup as well. And I do want to show the leaderboard for tomorrow's stream as well because I'm quite excited to continue with that. So we were talking about here. I was talking about reversal. I was talking about actually here. I was talking about this change of state. I was talking about support down here. We found more support. We continued here. We had this kind of the word has slipped my mind. We moved up and down equally. Sometimes just words don't happen anymore. And then we took past that low, and obviously the idea is now we start to move upwards. It's a bit rough, I'm not gonna lie. Support, boom, move up. We had that change in state from this high, which I talked about on the stream, and obviously we came down again, found support, came up again, took all this retracement again as we continue upwards. Same idea of the expansions. We have this whole area. We fulfilled the entire thing with this move. Obviously, in this case, we did have. Oh no, we didn't actually. I lie. We kind of had it, but we didn't really. It was more support than resistance. Obviously, big support. Boom, came down. Obviously, we probably found support in this area, and then just continued upwards. Basically, the idea is we had an uptrend. Whatever, doesn't matter. Uptrend, bank. I think obviously what I was talking about is which was on Saturday was I think we could, because obviously we came from, I obviously was talking about 184. What I was saying, back here was I think we can come to 182 at least and see what we can do above equilibrium. But again, same idea as we looked on the daily, which I'm going to go into in a second, where even though I was talking about, okay, we came to 184, I think what I said from here is we could definitely aim towards, 194. Obviously, we have come up a bit more, as I will show in a second, because of, again, we are above this equilibrium point at 182, which is where we want to start to look at coming down and start to look at, not reversing, but you want to watch for shorts. And this, now we can segue onto it, is where we sit. And I know it's very messy. My Solana chart is probably very, very messy. I think I just realized is my camera zoomed in? No. Good. Okay. But again, same idea here with again this high time frame, the last high of this move down before we had this massive move. Same thing with the retracements. Same thing with looking to come up into significant whatever XYZ significant area before we dump again. Obviously, not saying we do dump again. I'm not talking about high time frame stuff here. I'm on the daily. I'm not talking about what's the future of Solana in 6 months, but yeah, so again, same idea here. Same idea we've looked at Bitcoin multiple times over. Same idea we've looked at Ethereum multiple times over. On Solana, the optimum retracement area sits within this 218 area. And if we look at what we have on the way down, we do have this area to 250, but we do have this area which sits pretty nicely in this 218, 220 area for this move down. We've already had this area. We can see we formed it here, used it, and then came down continuously. We had this area. We've now used it here. And again, this is why I was talking about on Bitcoin. I'm not convinced we would have too much resistance in the way that we use this area. Again, same idea where this is very similar with what we had with Bitcoin on the 1 hour, where we came up, retraced a bit, and then took the high and then dumped, which is why I don't think we might not have too much in the way above us. Again, we have taken that high, and it's the same thing where if you form this at this high interest area and you take the high, this could be a reversal point, which obviously why I'm on the fence with Bitcoin, where there could definitely be this the reversal, because obviously I've already talked about it. I'm not going to go on too much, but the same thing here, where obviously we use this and then we've continued back upwards. So same thing, we've found the resistance within above equilibrium, and then we came down, and that's the idea where you don't have to stick to these areas, but it's the general point of you've had the massive move, and this spans, starting January, the start of this year. So it's the idea that once you start to see in these areas, it's not a point where you have to short these areas. I've said this multiple times. You don't have to short these areas. It's more of a, you want to watch to see if you could come down. If you're in the market condition where you want to start for a retracement and then find support area. Obviously, in this case, we had, we used this. We didn't have anything. We had some lows, to be fair, which obviously we did have a take here and then come back up a bit. But normal way down. Already talked about this. The last gap before anything, we had this area which we used. We had this pretty small gap which we didn't use. We broke. We continued away from it. Obviously, then came back to use it here with this $130 area with this print. Again, we did come a bit deeper, but this is general area for buy. Obviously, actually also had this order block here, actually, to be fair. But anyway, obviously then coming upwards, and it's same concept. Now we've come past this area. Where do we want to aim for next? We have these highs. We do have these highs, which do sit here. That I will point out, these highs could be very, very interesting. But as we aim upwards, this is the last area. We have these, this high, which sits within this area. I do definitely think 220 could be a very, very great target. I think Mike also has 220 for Solana. I don't know what you guys have for Solana, but I think this could be a very good target for Solana as we continue upwards. And again, this isn't a scenario where we're like where Ethereum, where we've had the pump and we could potentially be reversing. If it goes to like the 1 hour, we are in a normal move upwards. I mean, to be fair, we have had the retracements have been pretty big so far, but relative to what we have, actually, it's pretty rough. I don't like these. This isn't very good in the slightest, actually. This is not good. This is really not a great... I mean, obviously, we do have some lows. We could, definitely these lows, but we don't really... I mean, obviously, we have something down here, but not a great move up. I'm not a fan of this move up. I'm really not a fan of this move up, actually. This is really not great price action. Like, we've not got expansions, we've not got great retracements, we have these awful moves up, awful moves down. I'm not liking this, especially now we've hit this consistent area. I'm not liking this, actually. That doesn't mean we can't come to 220, but I just I'm not a fan of this area. Yeah, I'm really not enjoying looking at this. I mean, we do have obviously, in terms of for the example of if we have these deep retracements before the move up again, in theory, the last candle, it should be a support point. Again, obviously, this is like, hocus pocus stuff, if you will. But, in the idea that we form this move and then we've come back to support. So potentially cut certain support here. We do have a low here. I don't like this. I'm not a fan of the move. I'm not gonna lie, but it doesn't mean we can't continue upwards. Again, we've already had this print above this high. We haven't technically printed below anything. Again, we have we're moving down right now, but we haven't had that a true print below 196 or anything like that. Again, if we go to 50-minute, I'm not going to hold too much hope onto the 50-minute because, to be fair, it's definitely a lower time frame, especially if we're considering a move which is happening on the higher time frame. I want to roughly look at the 1 hour as the general trend idea, because the idea is, okay, on the daily we have the bias, which is up, but on the 1 hour we have what the actual trend is and if we're starting to potentially reverse or not. So in this case, obviously, we've hit a high. We've printed above these highs as well, so it's not that bad. If we look at the state continuation, if you will, we're not doing awful. We haven't technically printed past any lows or nothing concerning like that or anything like that. So I'm not negative on Solana, but I'm not a fan of this move. Again, we have the previous moves back here. I can't bother to lock it or anything, so I'm just gonna make it purple. Why not? So we do have something below us. I mean, okay, if we were to have, we've had this move up, if we were to have a bit of a retracement, as an example, last low before this move up, I just want to see where we could come to. Okay, well, this also resides on the latter end of the move, which sits about 188. I'm not saying we come to there. I'm really not saying that, but just as an example, this is below equilibrium. This area. I don't like it. Obviously, I'm not saying that just because we're moving down, but yeah, we've not really had a great... I mean, in comparison to a lot of moves, we've already shown examples on Bitcoin and whatnot, but in comparison to other uptrends, this is really a shoddy one. Not saying it can't be very good, but I know I'm yapping about not a lot of actually numbers or anything, but whatever. So again, daily, I'm gonna try and trim it up a bit now because I do want to quickly jump to syrup and really quickly cover that, and then we can go to the leaderboard, and then obviously we can do the outro. Daily, same thing, same idea with the Bitcoin. The Bitcoin, but same idea or not the same idea. It's the same idea as probably Ethereum actually, where we've had this straight line constantly. We haven't had a single retracement in Ethereum since we started that move up, however long ago it was, till now. We just haven't had a single move down. So in the sense that obviously Ethereum could start its retracement on the 1 hour, where I think we could have a deep retracement. If we have a massive move up, we don't come down. And this is the thing, it's like, if we have expansion retracement, again, this is good. This is a good example. Pretty good expansion, small retracement, expansion, retracement. Good move. This is starting to get a bit choppy here. Expansion, retracement, and then, continue on. It's pretty good. But in the case that once you have these massive moves and you don't have that expansion retracement, we're not, continuing in a nice uptrend. We just had a massive rally upwards. You want to have a deeper retracement to actually fulfill what could still be left. And as the market, slows down, it's kind of like a train, maybe, whatever you want to coin it as. We probably will most likely have a retracement. We don't have a lot below us. We obviously have support, but we don't have a lot of like a shorter term support. It's very like, okay, we have obviously this area. We've had a massive move upwards. We have had a bit of retracements, but these aren't good expansions. These aren't good moves upwards. These are massive retracements in this whole thing. So I definitely think we could maybe see a bit of a shorter term retracement soon, especially seeing as though we're seeing pretty good resistance at this 204 mark, just not even getting anywhere near above it. We maybe could see a bit more of a retracement before we move up again. Maybe a quick one, because again, if we start printing below these lows and start doing a downtrend, whatever. But yeah, I don't necessarily think this is us coming to 180, but or coming down and breaking everything. I do want to still target for 220 again, considering what we have on the daily and whatnot. If we're continuing upwards, where we've had this move up again, nice retracement, move up. I think this is gonna. I don't think this area is the high, but I do definitely think. We could edge a bit closer towards 218 and then have that deeper retracement. So I think, like I said, 1 hour, I think we might have retracement. I think daily we're still positive. So maybe on the 1 hour, we could limit it at about 193, I think it was, for the equilibrium point. It could go a bit lower. Again, obviously, I don't want to just like be biased and say, oh, I don't think it's going that low. But I think I'm not trying to be biased because of this move down, because again, we've had these deep retracements before we saw big pumps, so it's not necessarily this is going to be a downtrend, but it also seems that we have support. I think we could maybe continue a bit higher, but I think we maybe at some point soon for Solana we could see a move towards 188 or this kind of like 188, 191 area. But again, I still want to target 220. That's still my goal. That's been my goal. That's still what I want to target. So yeah. Take that as you will, or whatever. KuCoin. There we go. All right, so yeah, we've already talked about this. Yeah, so we had this area. I think for me, Syrup, I'm going to be very quick on this. I'm not going to do long TA because again, it's not like one of the main three we normally look at, and then I can jump over to the leaderboard for like the last minute just to show it and show an example of what I want to do for the quiz. Obviously, we have a wall swap. Wolf swap quiz tomorrow. It should be wolf swap, obviously sorting it out. But obviously, I think we've got about 20 questions. We're obviously going to do a bit beforehand, talking about the new season, and then actually go into the quiz. We have got 20 seconds. Got 20 questions, and I am going to move the timer to 40 seconds to 30, and we're going to leave the limit there because we had a bit of a mishap last stream. Obviously, if you guys were there, you will know where we didn't know if 30 seconds was a bit too low. But obviously, we're going to have this new leaderboard, and that's what I want to go on to in a second just to show you guys. So I'm going to talk for maybe 45 seconds on this, or maybe the last minute. I'll talk about this because I don't want to talk about it too long. I'm just gonna basically reiterate what we talked about on Wednesday. What I'm gonna do actually, this is probably really silly, but I'll make one group and hide it. Oh, okay, I'm gonna do my own quick drawings like this. What I talked about Wednesday was this retracement, where I said we could have one more move down, maybe closing in towards 40 cent before you could potentially start moving up again. And again, there's nothing so far. I'm not drawing this as a chart pattern, but there's nothing so far which has shown me which we should come upwards. I think the only thing would be for me is the fact that we had a very small amount of candles and we've started to print above them, or potentially on the daily. Last time, obviously, we kind of did this. We had the consolidation, and then we had this and the move downwards. It's slightly similar in this case where we slightly had a print here, but we continued downwards and we took this high. There's not really much resistance on the way up. there's not really anything. Maybe there's nothing there. There's nothing there either. I think we could probably start to move back upwards again for syrup as well. And obviously on the idea that the phases and whatnot and lower cap coins start to continuously pump. I think this is just a nice, pretty deep retracement in the continuation of things, going downwards from syrup. And again, we kind of needed this, especially coming from this massive move anyway. We did kind of need a bit of a move down for this anyway. So yeah, I do think we'll start to move up soon, and that's what I said Wednesday. I think we could have one more little retracement on syrup before we start to move up again. And obviously, you know, that has been pretty much the case so far. We've started this reversal on the 1 hour. I do think we could start to move up again on syrup. Not financial advice or anything. I think from there, we don't really have a lot. We have these potentially relative highs here, about 58 sitting at here. We could definitely see a bit of difficulty around there. I think as we come up, I don't really think there's much here. Again, that's obviously personal opinion, but there's, until maybe 60, I don't think so. I think we can continue upwards, and we've been doing really well so far. Because again, I would probably speak differently if, obviously, again, on the idea that we have, you know, this move, which has taken this and then had a deeper retracement. If we had a decent resistance on the daily, and then we can continue downwards and start breaking this and continue downwards and have a downtrend longer term on syrup. We don't have that. We don't really have anything here. Again, apart from these highs, unless we do something like that where we kind of like, you know, come down like that, I don't really think there's much in the way of a difficult scenario like that. But to be fair, you know, in terms of in changing state, we have had that print past this low. But again, also considering with this is definitely a rejection block in the sense that a tiny body, massive wick coming into this order block, for example. I don't know if we took that low. I can't actually see. I don't think we did. Going on to this, though, you can see we've sat at this midpoint. So I think I drew this Wednesday or the last stream I talked about syrup. I remember drawing this. I'll delete this as well. I remember drawing this kind of look we had with this rejection block. We obviously have come to this midpoint, which is generally what we want to aim for, and now we've started a bit more of a move up anyway. So I guess we will see how it goes, but I think we should probably be on the way up for syrup relatively soon. Again, this is the daily, so it will take some time to happen, but I think we'll probably have more of a consistent move upwards. Again, this has happened over basically, you know, end of last month to basically now. It's basically been a month of move down. I think we can continue that upwards again for syrup and continue to go higher. So, you know, opinion. Yeah, Bitcoin move, ETH move now, Sol moves. Exactly, as we talked about Wednesday as well with the phases, it's like, you know, obviously Bitcoin pump up, retracement, Ethereum then starts to pump up, retracement, Solana starts to pump up. I think once that has retracement, then obviously what's going to happen next, lower cap coins are going to start to be happy days. So, and again, we're getting very close to that 220 mark, 218 mark. We could, this is the thing, it's like if we start retracements now and start to come down, you know, we could fall short. And again, we have hit the 204 mark. So it's like, I don't want to be locked in my bias of we're definitely hitting 218 because we have technically come into that deep retracement area where you saw that black line of resistance, which is about 204. That is technically the optimum area where you want to look for retracements. So if we start at that on the 1 hour, then this will probably be our retracement starting on Solana. And if you think back to what Bitcoin's done, we had that massive move. I don't know what I'm saying. Massive move upwards, and then we started the retracement, which has lasted quite a while. So same thing with Ethereum. If we start in that retracement, this might last a while, 3,200, whatever the price exactly is going to be. We'll talk about it as we do more consistent streams. Solana, same thing as well. If we start this move down, we could definitely see really deep, because it started from like, what was it again? It started from like here, like 186 or 168, sorry, and like even here, like one whatever. Like we could definitely have a deep retracement and continue downwards for Sol. So it's one of those things I think, you know, if we do start that retracement, this is the thing, 2036, this is technically the main area to focus on the daily. So it's like technically we could have that. And we did this here as well, same thing. It's like we can come into these areas and not spend that long and on the lower time frames, have a really quick visit into these areas and then start that reversal and then come downwards. So same thing here, we could wick up into it, maybe come a bit higher again if we move back upwards, have a print maybe, and then start a retracement. So we could technically maybe have it soon. Again, I'm not saying Ethereum has started its big retracement. Ethereum's only maybe just started. So, you know, I don't want to sway it out of 218. We still haven't done anything too extravagant yet in terms of a massive print below anything. Technically, I have actually printed below these lows, to be fair, though. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, I've already given my opinion. So that is pretty much it so far. That's it. I've covered syrup, covered Bitcoin, Solana, whatever, and not too bad. 4 minutes over, or actually, I don't know if I was a minute I don't know if I started the stream like a minute or two after 10. I can't remember. I don't think so. I think it was pretty much on the dot. So 4 minutes over, not bad. What I will quickly want to do is actually I don't want to actually show the URL for it to make sure, you know, I just want to make sure it's, you know, hidden because I have not protected it. I'm not gonna lie. There we go. All right, there we go. I'm gonna shimmy this to here. There we go. All right, there we go. That should be on the screen. Okay, so this is obviously not the place I want to go to. So there we go. This is what we have for tomorrow. Okay, we're gonna have a new leaderboard. If you don't know what, if you're on Balance Square and you don't know what we're talking about, I'm gonna do a little tiny little shill on what we're doing tomorrow. Obviously, a bit of awareness for this. I think this is really cool. Obviously, the people who do it, you know, they enjoy it as well, and I think it's great. Basically, we do a quiz on Wednesdays, normally on Wednesdays anyway, on, you know, wall swap. I don't know if I can say every coin because obviously I'm on somewhere else. I realize it's actually a bit off on the screen. So what I'm going to do actually is zoom out. Okay, it might be a bit black on the bottom. You know, I have rounded corners. I apologize. It's not very pretty, but it's the end of the stream. Okay, we'll do what we want. So this is obviously the this is the leaderboard. I just want to quickly show it and just talk about it for the people on Balance Square. You know, see if we can get some more people coming along tomorrow. We do a quiz. You can join it on YouTube, and basically you can just chat in the YouTube box, and we'll have answers on the questions on the screen. You can answer them. So basically, it's quite an interactive quiz. We'll show questions about wall swap. Obviously, the new seasons come out, and we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. And obviously, you can come along and play. So if you know a bit about wall swap, you know about the season, or you want to know a bit about it, I would recommend, you know, coming along a similar time, maybe like 2 hours before this stream started. I don't know what time frame you guys are on, or time zone anyway. Come along tomorrow. We'll be there. We'll be talking about wall swap, and then at the end we will have the quiz where we'll have the questions. Obviously, you just answer it in YouTube. You don't have to go anywhere. You literally just answer it in the YouTube chat. So I would recommend coming along. And obviously, I just want to quickly show this because what we've added recently is I want to have a actually, yeah, don't worry. Those answers just appear on the screen. That was like, it's not pretty because again, it's for me. It's not a pretty it's not a pretty UI for the admin area, but that's what it looks like. Okay, so don't shout at me. Those are all questions anyway. But, you know, this is the new thing I wanted to add. And obviously we have added it pretty much. Again, it wasn't like a big addition. It was kind of just a global leaderboard. Basically, it says it there. Every quiz we do, we'll add more and more data to this. Obviously, we added last stream's data just to have something there. So for every quiz, obviously, more correct answers and all this sort of stuff. And obviously, we can filter it as we go through and, you know, do it, and we can search per person and whatnot and filter it by different things, and, you know, we can scroll through and can see everyone answering. Anyone can join us, anyone can show this, and we can have a consistent area to show actual, you know, the consistent data over, you know, a month, let's say, and we can, you know, maybe do some of it. But I think it'd be quite nice to have a consistent leaderboard to show consistent people. So again, if you want to be part of this leaderboard, you know, if you're very interested, do come along tomorrow. You know, take part in the quiz, and you can win. You can win money. You can win a bit of crypto. So I would really recommend coming along. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to show. And I've got to show it in the top 3. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It's like it was literally it was one quiz. So for example, it depends how you filter it. I think currently as it stands, it auto filters for correct answers just to have it like there. But again, we can filter by anything. So if we were just doing one which was just total time taken, then obviously you'd be first. You know what I mean? Or if we did it by average time taken, you'd be first. So it's one of those things. Or if we did correct answers and then time taken, you'd be there as well. So it's one of those things. It's it'll be added to as we continue the database. So I think it's pretty cool. And, you know, I'm very excited. I really want to see this grow. You know, I really want to see you know, people come consistently, because obviously, you know, all you guys here, pretty much all consistent people coming along. So shout out to all these people in this database. And yeah, I think it'd be really cool to see how it progresses, and maybe even do like a little giveaway thing at the end of XYZ month, whatever, with people sitting, you know, the most correct answers or you know, the fastest time taken, all this sort of stuff. So very, you know, I'm very happy I got it sorted. So again, this will be added to tomorrow. We'll obviously show it tomorrow when you guys are there. So, you know, obviously I know KB, you said you'll be there tomorrow. So looking forward to seeing you and everyone else there as well. So one more time before I leave, hello to, actually I need to bring up Balance Square on my main one. So there we go. Or on my main screen. There you go. So a lot of highs. Hello to everyone. Obviously, this is our first stream on Square. I don't really have it up. I normally have quite a lot of things up at the same time, different chats and stuff. So I haven't really been fully locked in on just staring at Binance Square and the chat there. So I have not been looking at every single chat, but I do appreciate all of you for joining and obviously being on Binance Square. It was our first stream, and I think, it's actually pretty good. So again, thank you guys for joining. And last thing I will say, again, I will recommend, if you haven't already and you're new to the channel, do go over to the YouTube and subscribe, because we will be doing the quiz tomorrow. If you want to come and take part, learn a bit about WolfSwap, and actually play a game within YouTube and potentially earn some crypto, then I would greatly recommend go and subscribe. Even maybe join the Telegram as well. We will notify you there, and then you can come along and play. So I'm very excited for that. Looking forward to it. See you guys all there. And I think that's pretty much it. I'll be, in terms of actual crypto stream, I will be back on Thursday. So next Thursday, or this Thursday, not next Thursday. This Thursday, I'll be back again to stream. See how it goes. I think I'm more easily assumed on what we have with Ethereum and Solana and Serpent and whatnot. I'm interested to see what Bitcoin does. And again, it's one of those things where it's like, there's not a lot above us. There's really not like a great deal of support below us. So I do want to see how we move. I probably would want to watch it a bit more. And then, we'll see how it goes. But again, obviously, we'll update it on Thursday. So if you guys do want to join the next chart stream, do come along Thursday, sorry. And obviously, come along Wednesday. So I've said, I'm trying to think. I don't have anything else to say. I don't think I have anything else to chill. No. So, thank you, all of you, for being here. Appreciate you all. See you guys next time. See you guys Wednesday, obviously. Really looking forward to it. And goodbye. Thank you.